Hi everyone. Welcome to a weekend of Steely Dan. This is not my first time hearing the band. I have listened to one song in the past called Peg, but now I am back to spend a weekend with them. And the song on my stand today is one that I don't know how to pronounce the title. It's spelled A-J-A. And I'm looking at it thinking, okay, should I take it English phonetically? Aja? Or should I go with aha? Or should I go Aya? I don't know. I really don't know. I hope that the song will reveal that to me, because otherwise I'll have to ask all of you to help me out. Aside from the pronunciation, it was released in 1977 and is regarded as being perhaps the most ambitious, sophisticated, and structurally ambitious work that the duo has ever attempted. So this is going to be interesting to explore. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see how it sounds. Some pretty lush opening here. Piano, guitar, drums, everything all at once. Really setting up
Up on the hill, people never stand. They just don't care.
Yeah. I like that little delicate. That's interesting.
Chinese music under banyan tree. Here at the Dude Ranch above the sea.
Asia.
All my time dancing is through. I run to you.
Interesting. This is interesting. Okay, I heard Asia. That aside, again, I don't want to make a huge deal about that, but I'm figuring out all the details as I go. The music, it starts out so abruptly, so directly into a rich, kind of thick carpet of sound, which feels more like a sort of background music type of sound. I might expect to hear, let's say, in some setting where there's activity going on, but we want something nice and a little bit sophisticated happening behind all the conversation that's happening. And of course, I mean, okay, I'm going to say it's kind of jazz blues based harmony and textures and all of that. Fine, but let's leave the technical terms aside for a few moments and just think about how this is setting us up in terms of feel and mood. And it has an incredibly, to me, American feel. Very American feel. So interesting because it seems that it's trying to set us up also in a location. And this is the kind of music that I would hear. Really, how would I describe this? This is the kind of music that to me evokes a specific location. Not a location that I can point to on the map and say that is the location. Any specific location. I think because of the way I feel it and my associations with this kind of music as being something that I walk into a room to hear. I walk into a cafe. I walk into a restaurant. I walk into a reception. I walk into something where, as I said, there's activity, there's conversation, there might be a bit of food or not. But there's this idea that it is a place. And in this place, there is a mood to be set. And the music is setting this mood for us. So when I heard the opening, I was thinking, oh, all right. This is setting me up as being a specific place. Although, as I said, it could be any specific place. Although, quite American. But then, as the song began, up on the hill, people never stare. They just don't care. It starts to evoke this sort of getaway, escape feel. All right. Yes, the music can work with that. Nice. Okay. And then Chinese music under banyan trees here at the Dude Ranch above the sea. Now it starts to paint more of a picture. And it's so interesting the way there are little touches. I pointed out those little touches of really almost harp-like. It's not harp. It's more probably a percussion instrument. But those little cascades, and then also the percussion started bringing in some other wooden type sounding percussion. Again, evoking perhaps a little bit more exotic feel, a little bit something. But it's so interesting to me. The reason I'm making such a big deal about all of this is that it's so interesting to me that this is the musical setting. And right away in the first verse, it says Chinese music under banyan trees. Chinese music. Okay. This is not Chinese music. There, as I said, there may be some world music elements, maybe some little bits of, and I haven't been through, I don't know how far it goes, but this is not the music itself that the song is about. That's an interesting thing to note. What we're listening to musically is not the music that the song is talking about. What an interesting idea for a piece of music, for a song, to use music to tell a story, to convey something, to create an image, and talk about a specific kind of music, and give us the feeling of how we feel when we listen to that music, and yet not be using that particular music. Isn't that an interesting approach? That is why I am so fascinated by the opening of this. Now, of course, this is just... What? How far am I? Yeah. Barely a minute into it. And so, I have no idea how the rest of the song is going to go, but it's worth noticing that particular thing about this song. It's talking about Chinese music. But we are not listening to Chinese music. It's evoking a feeling of a place, a time, a setting in which we are experiencing a specific kind of music, and yet the music itself is not that. Okay, back to the music. These little brushes. Okay, those little kind of marimba type sounds. They soften it a bit, but it's not at all Chinese. And now this. It's immersing us in a world, in a mood. The holiday vacation vibe, the little bit of exotic tropical lushness. that triplet there. It just
Let's do
carries us in.
Asia.
Asia.
When all my
So this, actually, I didn't want to make too big of a deal about the name, but now I'm realizing this is actually a big deal in this song. So, Asia. Of course, that it's used here. It's used here. Perhaps it's the name of the ranch. Perhaps it's a person there where he's going, and it's being used kind of on an individual level. But it's also this really interesting, and I think more importantly, it's this, shall I say, Americanized, very strongly Americanized, even Southern California-ized, with all the Hispanic influence from coming up from the South, where, as I said at the beginning, should I pronounce this aha? Where the J, the letter J, is very often an H sound. And so it has this very California melting pot blend of ethnicities, and yet it's not being used as an H, but it looks like it could be, right? Instead, it's Asia, Asia, a broad umbrella, a whole continent, in which we do find China, where Chinese music comes from. But it's not trying to be specific about a certain musical ethnicity. Instead, it's creating this umbrella term, and it's making Asia and what is being perceived as Chinese music, again, not in a purist sense. It's making that an important part of this place of escape. Asia, when all my dime dancing is through, I run to you up on the hill. They've got time to burn, there's no return. And then, of course, Chinese music always sets me free. I'm reading ahead now in the lyrics. Okay, it comes to angular banjos sound good to me. It's as if he's running to a person and a place that represents another world, another kind of place that is his idea of perhaps Asia. Perhaps it's an unknown. It's such an interesting way of portraying the sort of, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but the sort of ignorance of what Chinese music really is. And I'm saying Chinese music, again, using that as just because it's here in the song. Ignorance of what is Asia? What is China? What is this other part of the world that's so far from mine? And I meet people and I hear and I catch glimpses through them of their culture, where they've come from. But at the same time, I have my own kind of imaginary world and idea of what that is, based on this whole mix of influences I've had. But there is one particular place I can go, and where I go, to me, it represents all that I imagine it is, and the freedom and the beauty and the specialness that I sense in that other world, even if I don't truly know that other world. And so to take the word Asia and spell it A-J-A, is such a wonderful way of taking all of these ideas, imaginations, influences, misconceptions, preconceptions, and borrowings, and at the same time, appreciation for whatever it is that has brought this to me. And I'm fascinated by, okay, the music is great, but I love the genius of the name. Perhaps it is actually the name of a particular ranch. Still, I love the genius of the name. I love the way that the piano finishes that progression. Oh, that's interesting. I was just getting ready to say, I noticed the softness of this music. The softness which comes from the jazz tradition. Both in the chord structures, the complex voicings, the extra notes beyond a simple triad, the progressions, but also simply the tonal, the tones of the instruments themselves. There's nothing really harsh. There's nothing sharp-edged. I'm careful as a musician when I say sharp. It can mean multiple things. Nothing sharp-edged in the instrumental blend. It is very jazzy, bluesy, influenced in the musical ensemble and texture, feel. I guess from the very beginning, the first thing I commented, or one of the first things, was that it sets up this thick carpet of texture, and that is what we hear. It's not thin, it's not hard. Rich piano chords. The bass is a very full, warm, round, but gentle bass. The percussion is light and brushy. There are other elements coming in to kind of brighten and clarify and stand out, whether it's the marimba type, and I don't know if it's actually marimba, but something kind of like, in that instrumental family, marimba type contributions to the music, or this little bit here, which could be keyboard, or it could be a reed instrument. Again, it's such a gentle blend, and in this kind of music, you never know. Is it really what it sounds like, or is it some other instrument pulling out some approximate similarity in tone? But even those, they're not harsh and sharp. This reedy instrument here. Okay, this here is guitar, of course. Let's back up a little bit more. I think it was here. Here. Okay, perhaps those are plucked strings. Pizzicato. Maybe. Yes, it sounds like, along with perhaps some keyboard, organ type. And now we have guitar. All of these, though, regardless of the instrument, It's soft, it's luscious. It's like stepping in knee-deep moss. Okay, I'll hold that thought. That whistle, even it has a sort of trill to it, a softness to it. Pause here before we come into the next section. Okay, one of the things I'm noticing is that in spite of the fact that this is very tonally complex and layered, multi-layered, and it does have this kind of complexity, sophisticated quality to it. When we start unraveling what's the building material of it, there are nice little bricks, building blocks that we can pick up and we can handle and we can say, oh, this is something that they're using a lot of. And this is one of the things that gives it a connection, a consistency across the entire piece. One of those little building blocks, Legos if you might call it, is this dum bum 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 bum. And the way it is a singable melody. It's not being played by a sustained melodic instrument. It's more plucked. Bum 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 bum. But it's it serves the role of melody, and it is repeated multiple times, as if you're taking a string of bricks, a set of bricks all the same color, and laying them in a row and saying, all right, here's a pattern, and now around that we'll add some other bricks, some other textures and things. But this is the material. It's not the only material. There's also the harmonic material, which, as I said, is quite sophisticated in the sense that rather than a simple triad, like, say this, okay, that's just a simple C major triad. We might have a 9, perhaps even a 7 added to it, or a 6. You see how suddenly it not only becomes more lush, but it also becomes softer. It becomes more gentle. And this complexity is one of the things that gives it this very gentle feel and texture throughout. It's the harmonic makeup of the chords being used, and the way that complexity softens the impact of each changing chord along the way. It's one of the reasons I'm saying that this is very much rooted in the jazz tradition, of course, out of which comes the blues strain of things as well. But I wouldn't classify this as let's say, 12-bar blues by any stretch. No, it's much more complex than that. So I'm tending more towards jazz, although take it either way. The idea is that all of that, blues, jazz, comes from the very American musical tradition where we have layers of notes in a chord, stacks of them, far more than just 3 or 4. We can have notes that are right next door to each other, that don't look like our elementary idea of a chord, in other words, a triad. It's one of the other building blocks of this piece is the chord progressions and the complexity of those chords. I don't mean complex meaning advanced. I simply mean multi-layered, that kind of complexity. It gives it this beautiful softness and warmth and comfortable feel. And it's one of the things that makes it so relaxing to listen to. And on that note, let me talk about moss for a minute. Interesting. I listened to a piece of music recently and put it on the channel. And in the Patreon community, there was this whole discussion about moss that developed. And I was fascinated by the fact that some of my viewers have never seen or felt moss. And they thought it was something kind of off-putting. One of them even used the word icky. And I'm like, really? Okay. I was in Germany once, and I spent some time there, and it was a part of the country where there were a lot of forests. And walking in some of those forests, the moss is literally this thick, and it feels like you're stepping into one of those lush, thick carpets. It is like a carpet, and it's this earthy green color. It's not slimy. It's not icky. It's not unpleasant in any way. And it emits this very comforting, earthy green scent when you step on it. And it's an experience to walk on it. Of course, there's plenty of moss that's much thinner layered all around the world too. But this is why I'm using the term mossy and carpet-like when I describe this music. It has that scent, that earthiness, that comforting quality, the experience of no hard edges, nothing on which you might injure yourself. It's just comfortable. And at the same time, there's a sort of groundedness to it, earthiness to it. There's this quality that it's not isolated from the world around us in its own bubble. And yet, when we step into it, we feel like we are somehow protected and isolated from the world around us. Such an interesting way of setting this, again, this concept of Asia and Chinese music. And of course, all of this improvising around it. Comes the guitar. And we're slowing down and changing the pulse here. Kind of putting on the brakes, preparing for something new. I don't know what, but it's clearly setting us up for that. Gentle transitions, gentle. Take your time. Set the expansiveness. Make room for the guitar to run around. Ooh, here's some saxophone. Notice how that mimics the, as I said, the marimba type little flourishes earlier. Some real drama building up here. descending. Dum-bum. And here's the piano again. Much like the opening, isn't it? Just calm, setting the mood. And here we are. Okay, that makes sense. We came back around to this.
Or so they say. Chinese music always sets me free. Angular banjo sound good.
So interesting. There's nothing angular about this music, and yet it's talking about angular banjos. Sound good to me. Asia.
I'm dancing this tune. I run to you.
Interesting sounds. And right at the end there, just that last portion, we finally started to hear some sounds brought into the mix, which we might say are stereotypes of perhaps Asian music. Some of those thin wobbly, but even that, you can't put your finger on it and say that's Chinese music, that's Asian. It's too broad. It's too. Everything in here is so gently placed and softly suggested. I'm fascinated by this as a musical, artistic work, an expression, an artistic rendition of an experience, of a perspective, and a way of relating to these things that are spoken of in the lyrics. Overall, just on a broader scale, of course, this last verse gives us a little bit of, pauses us a bit and says, especially with this line, up on the hill, they think I'm okay, or so they say. And so this is clearly a place to escape, and perhaps this person is not feeling okay in their normal life. Up on the hill, people never stare; they just don't care. It's a place where you can go and not be identified, pried into. You can just disappear, and everyone just assumes you're okay, and that's all that it needs. It gives space to breathe, and I think that is one of the significant elements of the choice of musical style to set this song. It does an incredible job of painting a portrait, telling a story, and I can't help. Even though this was never said in the lyrics, I'm back to the idea that this is a California song. In fact, it is a song of somebody say, in a movie star or somebody who everywhere they go, they're hounded and they're harassed and they're recognized and they are unable to be themselves, and it takes a toll. And this is one place where they can go and just be an ordinary person in the crowd again. And somehow that is the portrait of the person that I get from this song. I'm sure there are many other ways of taking it as well, but that's what comes to me in this first listen. As I said, a fascinating piece of music, a fascinating artistic expression, and the way, the techniques, the way that it is expressed and what it says to us because of that. I am incredibly curious about what comes next tomorrow as I continue this Steely Dan weekend, and I'll see you then.